A great win for the banged up Los Angeles Chargers, but boy, the Philadelphia Eagles look like a broken team. That and more on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready, Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome into the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert Lauren Cox. On today's show, I'm going to tell you why finally the Cleveland Browns made the right decision to make Shedeur Sanders the starter, something that should have happened a long time ago. I'm also going to tell you why Phillip Rivers, old man Rivers, can't save the Colts from a collapse. But we'll start with, speaking of a collapse, the Philadelphia Eagles losing in one of the worst games I've ever seen Jalen Hurts play to the Los Angeles Chargers, who I cannot believe they won that game with all the injuries and everything that they're dealing with. But before we dive into all of that, I do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL live bets all season long. Lauren, 22-19, the Chargers win this game. They were going to be in a pretty bad spot, it looked like, if the Chargers lost this game, but instead it's the Eagles who Jalen Hurts has 5 turnovers, including 2 turnovers in the same play. It's kind of hard to believe how bad Jalen Hurts played in this game, and the Eagles have now lost 3 straight games.
Yeah, they just seem to find new ways to look ridiculous in weird ways. And normally that's the Los Angeles Chargers job, but like this,
right?
This to me felt like a Chargers team that found a way to win in spite of everything going against it, and the Eagles found a way to lose in spite of everything going in their favor in a lot of ways.
No, 100%. That's exactly how I would describe it. And despite us being worried about the Eagles and being down on that performance, someone, surprisingly, is feeling a little optimistic after that game. And it's my guy, the legacy, Louis DiBiase from Locked On Eagles.
I don't know what to say. I mean, you can't overcome that many mistakes. I'm going to take the moral victory standpoint here, and you're probably going to roll your eyes. For an 8-5 team that's lost 3 straight, that looked as bad as they did on offense the majority of this game, that has a lot of long-term concerns now suddenly about the head coach and quarterback. For me, I'm still going to take the high road. I'm still going to take the positive perspective, because just think about it. This football team had maybe the darkest moment in a long time in that first half. It felt bleak. It felt even worse than the 2023 collapse. And yet this defense refused to die, giving this offense a chance to go win this game time after time. This offense, Jalen Hurts having one of the worst performances I've seen from a quarterback since Carson Wentz in 2020, still refused to give up and made a lot of plays in the clutch at the end to give this team a chance. And yeah, he threw the ball away at the end. But this team has fight, and they're not going to collapse down the stretch.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is no time. This is no time for moral victories for the defending Super Bowl champions, losing 3 straight. They are not a shoo-in to make the playoffs here after losing this game. There is a chance that the Cowboys could catch them. The Cowboys have the better division record. They've split the season series. The Cowboys are 6-1. The Eagles are now 8-5. Like, I am surprised. My guy Louis, who was obviously on the show yesterday doing the show, I'm surprised that Louis, of all people, who was saying this might be a hot seat game for Nick Sirianni, saw what happened in that game and came out of it feeling optimistic about the Eagles. This team looks completely broken on the offensive side of the ball, and even with their defense being as good as it is and harassing Justin Herbert and the injuries on the offensive line of the Los Angeles Chargers and what they're going through, the Eagles didn't win this game. This is the opposite of a moral victory. This should be a demoralizing loss, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I get that you want to give Vic Fangio credit in this game for holding the Chargers to 5 different field goal attempts and keeping them under 20 to take it into overtime and stuff. Like, it was a good defensive performance, but like, I don't know that was really the concern heading into this game, right? All we've been looking for is like, can Jalen Hurts and Kevin Patullo and this Eagles offense figure things out? And it feels like, I mean, they got the running game with Saquon Barkley going, and that's great. But like with Jalen Hurts continues to go backwards without a lot of like clear, obvious reasons. I mean, I know the offensive line isn't perfectly healthy, and that, but like it's not like there's some big obvious excuse of like, oh well, they're missing all these guys, and so of course Jalen Hurts is going to do X, Y, or Z wrong. It's like no, he just is like missing throws and making bad decisions and just not taking care of the football and being a worse version of the quarterback that we've seen be an MVP caliber player.
Yeah, no, you're right. All of the concerns we had about the Eagles coming into the game weren't alleviated in any way. They were plussed. In my opinion, you're even more concerned about the passing game and Jalen Hurts now. Like, that's a big issue. We saw Landon Dickerson get banged up. He was able to come back into the game, but I have a hard time making any excuses for Jalen Hurts when you have the talent that you have around him. You still have Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and you still have that defense. And you look at what Justin Herbert is working with on his offensive line. He's got a broken left hand that's hurting every time he runs. He's getting harassed in the pocket. He got sacked 7 times in this game. Like, I cannot believe that the Chargers even had a chance to win this game with how bad their offensive line was and how under duress Herbert was the whole time. To see Justin Herbert do what he was able to do and lead his team, and then see everything that Jalen Hurts has around him and the way that he struggled in this game, like it's impossible. And listen, it wasn't Herbert's best game statistically, 12 for 26, 139 yards passing, 1 touchdown, but he did lead the team in rushing, 10 for 66 yards. Like, he literally was putting the team on his back as much as he could, and it felt like Jalen Hurts was doing the opposite of that.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert used his recently surgically repaired hand to stiff arm a defender on a run. Like, it's just crazy. Like, of all the things you thought he would not do in this game, being a physical leading rusher, absolutely not the case. But I mean, I just hope we can all find someone as committed to us as Greg Roman is to running on 1st and 2nd down, because like even when it wasn't working, they were pounding it up the middle over and over and over again. And it again, like we talk about Hurts, struggling with everything, kind of trying to help around him. And it feels like Herbert's doing this all without much of a running game, without an offensive coordinator that's letting him uncork it, with not a lot of deep route concepts. So he's throwing it short over and over again, and a surgically repaired left hand, like, and all the injuries around him, and still like finding a way to win. Like, that's the gutsy, like, believe in this team fighting through adversity type of performance, more so than the Eagles.
No, 100%. We're literally seeing a quarterback with everything going against him overcome and lead his team to victory, and a quarterback with literally the best circumstances you could probably ask for in the NFL basically ruin it for his team. It's the total opposites of what we were watching out there, or 2 total opposites is what we were watching out there. And I'll say this, the Chargers really needed to find a way to win this game. You look at the Chargers' schedule coming up here and what they have to do the back half of the season. They have to go play the Chiefs, who are going to be as angry as ever. Then they got to go at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are coming off a loss, but they're still a much improved good team. Then they got to play the Texans, who are the hottest team in the NFL. And then they finish in Denver against the Broncos. If they didn't pull off this win and they dropped here, instead of being 9-4, they were 8-5. You lose to Kansas City, now you're 8-6. Kansas City is right there with you. Again, there was a chance that the Chargers could collapse and fall out of the playoffs and kind of be on their way to a skid with a tough schedule at the end if they didn't pull this off. So not only was this a gutsy performance just on its own, but this was big for the momentum of the season.
But do you really believe in them to hold on and make the playoffs with that tough schedule? Like, obviously they needed it to get there, and if they lose, then it's probably toast. But like, I still wonder if it, like, hey, it's great to enjoy right now, and Chargers fans absolutely should, but like, who are we kidding ourselves that they're going to be able to win enough of those games to sneak in the playoffs? I mean, never say never, but it feels like some of the same conversations we talked about with, like, the Bengals and the Ravens, where a lot of stuff has to go right, and it's tough to do that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. It will be interesting, because if you look at the wild card race, the Chargers at 9-4, Buffalo at 9-4, Houston at 8-5. I have a hard time seeing Houston fall out now. I mean, if there was any team that would be the one to fall out, if I had to say, hey, one of the 3 wild card teams isn't going to make it, I probably would go with the Chargers right now, even though it would be hard for them to fall apart.
Well, it's just because, like, we talk about how bad the Eagles were and how Jalen Hurts gave them 5 turnovers, and you still took overtime and a field goal to beat a playoff team that is not one of the better playoff teams right now. So, like, if this is who the Chargers are kind of going to be going up against to get that last playoff spot, and they're scraping by in this moment, like, I left this game certainly feeling less confident in the Eagles and not feeling a ton more confident in the Chargers. Like, if the Eagles are going to crap the bed like that, I would like to see the Chargers maintain a little bit more control, but more credit to them to say, hey, win's a win, you'll take it however you can get it.
The only thing I feel better about after this game is that Justin Herbert is a really good quarterback. I don't feel better about the Eagles. I don't feel better about the Chargers going forward, but Justin Herbert is awesome, and I'm glad that he's finally getting his due. But with that being said, talking about quarterbacks, talking about injuries, the Indianapolis Colts officially lost Daniel Jones for the season, and they called old man Phillip Rivers to save their season? That ain't happening. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, NFL Sundays move fast. You got to keep your head on a swivel because one big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips. After a turnover, FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. They have live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. They also have player props that update as guys heat up or cool down. You can bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked in to every snap, every drive, every possibility. So, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, Lauren, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL. We broke down that wild Monday Night Football game between the Eagles and the Chargers. Now, we got to talk about the rest of the crazy news in the NFL on Monday, and we start with the news out of Indianapolis. Daniel Jones' Achilles is officially torn. I guess not officially torn, but he's officially out for the season with the torn Achilles. Going to have surgery on it. The Colts had Riley Leonard come into the game. Anthony Richardson still on injured reserve with a bizarre eye injury that happened. So what do the Colts do? They call an old friend, an old man Rivers. Yes, Phillip Rivers, as my guy Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts broke down.
The Indianapolis Colts are bringing in veteran Phillip Rivers in some capacity on Tuesday to see if he might be interested in joining the practice squad. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts, and this is a developing story from Ian Rappaport. The Colts are bringing in 44-year-old Phillip Rivers for something on Tuesday to see if he could join the team in some capacity to support Riley Leonard as the starter over the final 4 weeks of the season. If this is for Rivers to start, again, at 44 years old, he's been out of the NFL since 2020, that would be absolutely insane. Maybe he's just coming in to be like a mentor type thing here, but Colts are throwing everything at the wall here with their season dwindling and down to their third string quarterback, and Phillip Rivers is all a part of that. So we'll see what is in store for this Colts team going forward. We'll have you covered here on Locked On Colts, but yep, the 44-year-old Phillip Rivers is part of the equation now, and again, we'll just see what transpires here in the next couple days.
What a move of desperation from the Indianapolis Colts to even consider a 44-year-old quarterback who hasn't played since 2020. It's embarrassing, quite frankly. And here's the reality. I don't care if they sign him. I don't care if they don't. Their season is done. It's over. They can't compete. It's a collapse. They cannot be saved. They cannot be saved by old man Phillip Rivers. It's not going to happen. They need to take their medicine and accept that the season is over. Let Riley Leonard play. Hope that Anthony Richardson can maybe get back. Maybe you were keeping him on IR because he didn't have a chance to play. Now you can get a look at him in the last couple of games of the season, see if you can get some trade options. This is an absolutely absurd, desperate, terrible idea, and I cannot believe that the Colts are taking this serious.
But don't you just wonder if he's got enough in the tank? Can they? Yeah, they're not going to go to the Super Bowl with Phillip Rivers, of course. But at an 8-win team, can you get 2 wins with Phillip Rivers against? You got a pretty tough schedule, but a couple of divisional games in there. You might be not beating the Seahawks or the 49ers, but the Jaguars and the Texans. Can you sneak a couple more in there? Just one last ride. That you knock on his door and say you got one last job, and you could Phillip Rivers maybe just maybe get the job done?
No, No, he couldn't, Lauren. He's 44. It's over. He wasn't moving well in 2020. He's 4 years removed. I'm sorry. This is too much. Now, I think that maybe a Ryan Tannehill, who's played much more recently than Phillip Rivers, if somehow Russell Wilson could ask for his release from the New York Giants and Russell Wilson could go sign with the Colts and give them a chance, I think those are realistic options to do what you're saying. Maybe they pull off a win or two and backdoor into the playoffs. But even then what? Then what? Like, what's that going to do? At the end of the day, this is my big point. The Colts are screwed, man. They made a huge bet, traded away 2 first-round picks for a cornerback that hasn't even been playing his best football as of late. And they did it because they believe they found their franchise quarterback on the cheap in Daniel Jones. That is why they made that move, because they're like, okay, we struck gold. We got our quarterback for the next couple of years. We can go all in on this team because we have the answers in the key spots. Well, now since Daniel Jones tore his Achilles, he's out the rest of this year, likely to be affected next year, which means the 2 years that you gave up first-round picks for, you're probably not even going to be able to have that quarterback that made you emboldened to do that. This is a disaster for the Colts. And again, the fact that they're even considering this is embarrassing. Go with Riley Leonard, man. What are we doing?
So, of course, it's definitely a disaster for the Colts. But once we get past that, you don't have your first-round pick, so there's no point in, losing games. You're just going to make the Jets pick better. So
exactly.
Why not have fun with it and sell some tickets if Phillip Rivers can come back? It's a great story. Everyone's talking about the Colts. And what is you got to learn what Riley Leonard is over these 4 games. Isn't he just going to go out there and get killed? Is he part of the equation of the future? Hey, call Phillip Rivers up and see what the old grandpa can do. He's been coaching high school football and having a lot of success there. So his brain's still sharp and in the game.
Well, Lauren, if your argument to me for Phillip Rivers is going to be, it makes it much more interesting to talk about the Colts, I'm in. I'm in on that because it's going to be very interesting to continue to talk about the Colts collapse as Phillip Rivers is out there falling apart at 44.
Well, you're telling me you're surprised that the franchise that brought in Jeff Saturday to be the head coach midseason would go pick another old former player and pull him out and throw him in there for no reason? This is perfectly on brand right now.
No, it is 100% on brand. Now, look, all of this doesn't mean that they are going to sign Phillip Rivers and he's actually going to play and do all of that. But again, the fact that they're even considering it, pretty wild. But again, the Colts collapse leaves the AFC South to be very, very interesting because you have the Jacksonville Jaguars who are leading it now. You have the Houston Texans who, again, are the hottest team in the NFL. And if the Colts are worried about their future now that Daniel Jones is hurt, one of the other reasons they could be worried about the future is the Jags are a young team with a ton of talent who might not let up anytime soon. And that's something that my guy Tony Wiggins talked about on Locked On Jags.
I think they're here to stay for a long, long time. I don't know how much they're going to win, but I know this, with this current crew that they have and those players and the assets they have to get more players, I can't see where in the near future the Jacksonville Jaguars are not a contender for a very long time.
Famous last words. You know how many teams have said, hey, we got a good young core. We're having a good season. I don't see how this train could stop. Sounds like something that the Washington Commanders said last year. We've seen. Sounds like something that the Cincinnati Bengals said a couple of years ago. Sounds like something that the Kansas City Chiefs believed this year. The NFL is littered. The Minnesota Vikings last year, did they think that they were going to turn around and have the season that they're having? NFL history is littered with teams who said, we'll be back, we'll be good a while, and then they're not. So I like Jacksonville. I picked them to win the division this year. I think that they have a way better future ahead of them than what the Colts have right now based on what's happened this week. But acting like the Jags are going to be a perennial contender for years to come because of what we've seen so far from them this year, I can't go that far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to build up a little bit here when they play the Jets, Colts, and Titans in 3 of the last 4 games, and they could be a 12-win team, when the season's also done. And wow, what a great year from Jacksonville. But man, I agree. There's gonna need to be some proof beyond that. We've seen, it has some shades of even Matt Nagy's first year with the Chicago Bears. 12 wins, win the division, coach
exactly.
everything is turned around. And then, well, you lose a coach here, you lose a couple good players here and there. And getting success is difficult. Then sustaining success once you've got it is another challenge that we often overlook of like, oh, you've done it once, so now you can just keep doing it over and over again. Well, it's really hard to keep it up. And that's what makes the really, truly great, like dynastic teams so special and so rare. It's why there's so few of them.
And quite frankly, Lauren, your Chicago Bears are going through a great season. They're going to win a lot of games. And I'm already telling you this, Lauren, now. The Bears are going to be a regression candidate for me next year. I'm going to say, hey, NFL got tape on what they're doing on offense, how they adjust to the adjustments that they've faced, and now they're going to have a better plan for them going forward. I think Jacksonville is going to be a prime candidate next year, too. They'll probably still be a competitive team, but I probably won't have them winning 12 or 11 games or whatever they end up winning this year. But I do agree with Tony in the fact of this. I do like the talent in Jacksonville. I do think they're the best team in the AFC South, although the Texans are super hot right now, and that defense is impressive. But the Jacksonville defense doesn't get the credit that it deserves. If you had to pick, if Jacksonville and Houston played on a neutral site right now, which team do you think would win?
I find myself trusting Houston a little bit more, and I know they've gone back and forth this season, but like I give like that defense is so good in like every category. Like I don't want to say it's a historically good defense, but like it's some of the numbers that come out of like just how well they're working in like every possible down and distance situation, against play action, no play action, blitz, no blitz, 4-man rush, zone, man, like they're just doing everything so well. And like, well, I know like Trevor Lawrence and that offense is capable of a great game at any given time. Like that defense for Houston's been so consistent that like they can win a rock fight a little bit more without CJ Stroud having to be perfect. Whereas I feel like Jacksonville is a little bit more dependent on everything clicking in just the right way.
No, you're 100% right. I think Jacksonville, because if I'm honest with you, Trevor Lawrence is more volatile. Trevor Lawrence is just a guy who you can't really trust. And Jacksonville has been really, really good, even though he's volatile, because they do other things well, like force turnovers on defense and run the football very well. Lawrence, sound familiar to you at all in any way? I'm just saying there's a lot of parallels here between the two teams. But I'm just with you there. I think I trust Houston. I trust Houston's defense so much at this point in the season that, like, you do not want to play Houston in the playoffs. That's all I know about that. But a team that won't have the chance to play in the playoffs is the Cincinnati Bengals. And while you thought it would be because the O-line can't protect Burrow or the defense can't stop a nosebleed, it was actually Joe Burrow who blew the playoff chance for the Cincinnati Bengals. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. You know there's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in a 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes it to switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Once again, that's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees, initial plan term only. Over 35 gigabytes, may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage vary. See mintmobile.com for details. All right, Lauren, let's continue and cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL. We talked about the Eagles being a broken team after their loss to the Chargers. We talked about Phillip Rivers not being able to save the Colts in the state of the AFC South. Now we need to move to more quarterback news as Shedeur Sanders finally gets the opportunity that he should have gotten a long time ago. He has been announced as the starter for the rest of the season for the Cleveland Browns, and my guy Spencer German from Locked On Browns had the story.
It's official. Shedeur Sanders is the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback for the rest of the 2025 season. Kevin Stefanski making the announcement via his Monday Zoom press conference that he'll be sticking with Shedeur the rest of the way. No more trying to see Dylan. No more of the Deshaun Watson, will he play this season stuff, barring an injury, which let's hope that doesn't happen. We don't want anybody to get hurt. Shedeur Sanders will finish out the year as the starting quarterback. This is always the path that made the most sense. It's the path that I'm thankful that we get a chance to see. The way Shedeur has been playing, especially yesterday, 364 yards against the Titans, the 4 touchdowns. I know there's the blemish of the interception there, but the fact that he was able to rally and sort of erase that and make it an interesting game at the end where they could have tied it had they, kicked the PATs. We can debate all that stuff later. Like, that was as thrilling as a performance as you're going to get. And it was a sign that he's continuing to get better. He's continuing to make progress. He's making throws the other quarterbacks that have started this year just were not making or could not make. This is the right move. It's what this rest of this 2025 season needs to be about. Evaluating Shedeur Sanders and finding out if he's a viable option to be the quarterback that you lean into as your starter, as your franchise guy next season, or if you're going to have to draft another one in the draft. Because right now, the Browns are slated to have a top 3 pick. We're going to talk about it more on a secondary Monday episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
I've been saying it for a long, long time. We've been talking about it for a long, long time. The Dylan Gabriel experiment will go down as one of the dumbest things in NFL history. Shedeur Sanders is so much more talented than that guy. It's so obvious all along. And the fact that the Browns had Shedeur Sanders, 4th string, working with scout team on a separate practice field from the regular team. They had him behind Kenny Pickett, then Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel. I mean, they have had multiple. I forget the other veteran they brought in. Was it Snoop Huntley for a little bit that they had over Shedeur Sanders? Like, just absolutely ridiculous that they had their most talented quarterback and their best option at quarterback for the future buried all season long until they absolutely had to play him. And then immediately once they played him, he looked like the best quarterback they've had all year.
Yeah, it just seems like he's kind of fits that mold of like the gamer quarterback who, like,
yes,
maybe at practice as much. I mean, if I'm trying to give the Browns any kind of grace or benefit of the doubt there, that they probably don't deserve at this point. Like, he's a guy who, the precision's not there, the accuracy's not there at practice. He's not doing exactly what you're asking of him. So it's like, well, 5 days leading up to game, Gabriel's given them the quote unquote the better chance to win. But then on Sundays, clearly Sanders turns it on, and I've been impressed with his ability to avoid negative plays. He's throwing the ball away. He's keeping the sacks down despite being under pressure a ton and maybe hold on the ball too long. But like, he still has a couple of plays where he takes a sack he's not supposed to. But for a rookie in his second or third start, like it's been impressive the way he just finds ways to make some plays there. And certainly he's a guy that's volatile enough that you worry that any given week, like, is he gonna go off and have a big game against my team next time your team plays him? Like, you got to watch out.
No, you're 100% right. And the reality is the Browns' offensive line is terrible. The Titans' pass rush is not one of the best in the league, but it's been much better over the last month or so. It's been pretty solid, league average generally is what I would say. And they put a lot of pressure on Shedeur Sanders in that game. He stood in the face of pressure. He ran around, play made, found openings, extended plays, did all that stuff. I mean, I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the game considering the circumstances. And yes, he's a rookie quarterback. He missed a couple of reads. He missed a couple of throws. He had the bad interception. That was just a really dumb move. And honestly, you might be able to say that's the difference in the game. But besides all of that, for the Browns, this is just exactly what they need to do these last 4 games of the year. If they're going to be a team that's interested in getting a quarterback and trading up, they need to know that they don't have their quarterback right there. And again, at the end of the day, it's the Cleveland Browns, maybe the worst quarterback team that we've ever seen. So it's hard to trust them. But I've been saying all year long, they're going to fall backwards into a good thing. And it looks like they just might be doing that.
Yeah, that's the great way to put it. I was just going to say that, like Stefanski may end up saving his job more by accident by stumbling into Shedeur Sanders and being like, hey, actually, this guy looks good. You better keep me around because we got a young quarterback, as opposed to like crashing and burning with Dylan Gabriel and saying like, oh, there's nothing to retain here. And just let's start this whole process over from head coach down to quarterback.
100%. Now, I'll tell you this. It is going to be kind of hard for Shedeur to get a win down the stretch here. They're in Chicago against the Bears, who are going to be mad after losing the Packers. Then they play the Bills, who it's not like the Bills are going to be letting up. They're going to have to win to keep their playoff spot. Then they play the Steelers, who will be fighting for a playoff spot and know that team well. And then they finish at the Bengals, who, clearly they're just not going to die, or they wouldn't have played Burrow these last couple of games anyway. So tough stretch for Shedeur Sanders to end it, but I'm glad he's finally getting a shot one way or another. And then finally, we stay in the AFC North, and we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, who got some big-time news on Monday. Trey Hendrickson going to be out the rest of the season, core muscle surgery. They're calling it a hip, but it's a core muscle thing. And then they actually waived, cut, whatever you want to call it, their third-round pick from last year, Jermaine Burton, the wide receiver out of Alabama, who is known to be a locker room problem. But all of that news comes the day after the Bengals season basically ends. And again, like I said, the crazy part is it wasn't the defense, it wasn't the O-line, it was Joe Burrow, and that caught our guys from Locked On Bengals off guard.
You can't have 2 fourth-quarter turnovers because the Bills, well, they're good enough to overcome one of those fourth-quarter turnovers. You can't give it right back. And, yeah, even after that happened, I thought they had a chance. But when that happened, it was like, oh, no. Oh, no. Like, this was the last thing that you expected. You expect the defense to look like the defense did against Josh Allen.
There's some irony in it. I can't help it. There's some irony that they wait all season for Burrow to come back. The defense starts to play better. The O-line starts to play better. They're in the game. They're winning the game. They're dominant. They were up by 10 at one point in the first half. And it's actually Burrow who's the reason that they lose and who blows it. It's a piece of irony that I can't avoid here on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I also feel like, man, Burrow did a lot to put them in a position to be up by multiple scores and have chance to win that game. And that if their defense had just done a little bit more, then you never really get in a spot with those turnovers late in the game. I mean, yes, Burrow absolutely deserves some blame there.
But you can't do that. You can't have the turnovers Burrow did back to back like that. That's bad.
He had 4 touchdowns and almost 300 yards passing. Like, he did a lot of really good too. It doesn't. Yeah. I'm not saying it outweighs the turnovers, but it's like, it wasn't like he had some horrible game. He just blew it at the end, but he was throwing some nice balls up until that point.
Yeah, I agree. I grade on a weighted scale where the stuff at the end matters more than the stuff at the beginning. So, like, I just cannot believe. I'm sorry, whether it's his fault, that fault, whatever. I just cannot believe that the 2 big plays that broke the Bengals back this year were actually just Joe Burrow mental mistakes, not the O-line, not the defense that everybody complains about. It's wild.
And also Burrow should be graded on a different scale too. Like, he should be graded on the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow scale, not Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold scale. Like, well, it's okay. You can make some mistakes. Burrow doesn't get to make mistakes. You have to be elite and you have to be special because that's the category of quarterback you purport to be in. Yeah,
and to make Monday even worse, T. Higgins, who was clearly concussed in that game but got cleared multiple times, reported concussion symptoms, and they got to be careful with him because he's had a few now, and that's definitely going to make salt in the wound for Bengals fans on a very miserable Monday. But that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On NFL. I am your host, the Madman Tyler Rowland, for my co-host Lauren Cox, as we tell you every episode. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.